on a positive note, the Mariners at the beginning of the season, we tabbed them as a bad defensive team. They've taken quite a rebound, and I got to give a lot of credit to that rebound, Lyle, to the left side of this infield, which has been remarkably good defensively this year.
Remarkably good. Shout out Perry Hill. Shout out Josh Rojas and J.P. Crawford. Everybody involved. It's made a big difference. I'll start with Rojas because I don't know if people realize just how good Rojas' defense has been. Let's quantify it here. Josh Rojas, sitting here on June the 27th when we're recording this, has 8 outs above average. That ranks in the 98th percentile of baseball. Who saw that coming this year? Nobody. I don't think anybody saw that coming. He ranks tied for 10th in baseball in outs above average, all of baseball. 6th in the American League, and among all third basemen, he is first. Remarkable stuff.
And if you're wondering where Gino is, he is only has 2 outs above average right now. Yeah. So I think it's worked out. Maybe this Perry Hill guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Now, I will say Rojas has been a very good defender at second base and was last year when he was in Seattle. But for his career, he never finished a season with positive outs above average at third base. Now he is. Now he's been awesome at third base. He literally looks like Kyle Seager when he makes those bare hand plays charging in now. I'm not going to say it's an exact carbon copy, but it's Seager-esque. The way he makes those barehanded plays look effortless and makes those plays to first to make some of those tough outs. He's been awesome over there, man. Like truly, truly a savior on that infield defense.
It's so important, the developments of Josh Rojas and J.P. Crawford defensively on the left side, because if you counter and you look at the right side of the Mariners infield, it's nowhere near as good. Ryan Bliss has been good at second base, but Jorge Polanco has not been good at second base. Ty France has not been good defensively at first base either. So to have a consistent left side of the infield to make these plays, some of these routine plays that, if we want to get to J.P. Crawford here, because you and I spent some time on this last year talking about his puzzling defensive numbers, to where now this year J.P. Crawford has turned back into a plus defender. Not an elite defender, but a plus defender at shortstop. He's 81st percentile in outs above average, and he's coming off 2 seasons where he combined for negative 19 outs above average, the worst defensive shortstop in baseball. To turn that and go back into the 81st percentile is pretty good for J.P. Crawford. And the best thing that J.P. has done this year is he has eliminated his ultimate weakness from last year. J.P. Crawford was actually a good defender last year in every direction except going towards third base. Going towards third base, he was minus 10 outs above average. Note, Lyle, that last year overall for the season, he was minus 8. Meaning he was positive, plus 2 outs above average, going every direction except to third base. Going to his right cost him any sense of a positive defensive value. This year, it's 0. So even though J.P. Crawford has gone from elite defender earlier in his career to struggling in the middle-ish the last 2 years, while going back in the positive this year, you can attribute it to a couple of things. You can attribute it to the up and down nature of defense. Defense, in a sense, is random because the sample size is usually smaller. It's hard to quantify. There's a reason we have all these metrics. Everyone's trying to properly grasp defense, but no one can actually figure out the best way to grade defense. We just do what we think is best. But, and so then we have this randomness going in a positive direction too with J.P. Crawford. And it's so refreshing to see this year.
It's not just last year he had problems going to his right on those backhand plays toward third. This has hampered him for 3 seasons entering this year. So it was negative 10 or negative 11, right around that range in 2023. It was negative 3 outs above average going to his right in 2022. It was negative 4 outs above average going to his right in 2021. This is kind of held him down for a while now. And the fact that he has turned it around to just be league average when making those backhand plays this year has turned everything around for him. Because like you said, the difference in production defensively in each different direction that JP Crawford moves, looking at 2023 to 2024, is not that different in any facet except when he'd move to his right, going toward third base on those backhand plays. The fact he has put himself as a league average defender when going to his right has changed everything for him. It's taken him from being in the bottom 5 percentile of the league and outs above average to being in the 81st. And he has gone from being a well below average defensive shortstop to now being a well above average defensive shortstop. And you've seen, even if you want to just use the eye test, it's looked so much cleaner for JP this year. Everything has looked much cleaner for him this year, playing the field rather than it has in the last couple years. And it's done wonders for the Mariners, who were not expected to be a good defensive team, especially on the infield. And now you have a left side of the infield that's been locked down, truly locked down. And again, like we've talked about the Geno thing, Geno's not hitting, and he's been a worse defender than Rojas. So the fact that they had Rojas step in and be a step forward in just about every way, pretty cool.
I think of it for how JP's career plays out as well, because we had the conversation last year when he's having one of the best offensive seasons the Mariners have seen from a shortstop this century. And we said, okay, well, he's got 4.5 wins with his defense being so poor. Like, how high is his WAR if he played good defense? Like, if he played his early career defense? Like, JP Crawford, after this season, has 2 more years before he hits free agency. He'll probably get one more chance at a big payday 2 years from now, after the 2026 season, if he keeps his bat up, which his bat could age very well. He's got a pretty mature approach at the plate, which doesn't rely on a whole number of factors that I think actually ages pretty well for him. But if he can also combine that with being able to play above average defense at shortstop, I mean, it benefits him greatly, opposed to him if he reaches free agency and he goes back to being a bad defensive shortstop. Well, then free agency would dictate, JP, we're going to need you to move to a less valuable position, therefore we pay you less money. And that could be important for him. It could be important for JP to hang on defensively at short for 2 more seasons and then really cash in with a 9-figure deal if he keeps up his bat and he keeps up his defense as well.
Dude, if he was playing his 2024 defense last year, he finishes top 5 in MVP voting. He would have been a 7-win player last year.
And higher if you go his early defense.
Yeah, for sure. But again, he was top 15 in baseball in WRC plus last year. JP Crawford, again, if you put up like a 7-win season, there's no way you're finishing anything lower than 5 in MVP voting. Had he played this defense last year, he's finishing top 5 in MVP voting. And I mean that. I don't know if people outside of the Pacific Northwest realize that, but we mean that. And I think, I don't even think we're being that subjective here. I think that's just fact. Again, you have a 7-WAR season, you're going to finish really high in the MVP voting. So the fact that he has turned this thing around this year defensively, wonders for this team. Now, hopefully his back gets going in the second half again, and you get the full best version of JP Crawford.
Think of this for JP Crawford. He'll be 31 in his walk year. Like, if JP were able to replicate what he did last season with the bat, go like a 130 WRC plus with a 14% walk rate, and then add his defense from this year, is that 150 million? Is that 200? What's that worth?
I don't know if he get paid 200, just because the lack of power might take his market down a little bit, and the lack of exit velos and hard hit rates and all that stuff might drop his price a little bit. But like you said, 9 figures, yeah, for sure. And only being 31, that's not that old.
No, it's not. So it's important for him, but it's also an important development for the Mariners because, it does hurt them when they have poor defense at shortstop, and it benefits them when they do, especially with the amount of sinkers they throw. They need a sure-handed shortstop, and he's been that. And I want to give a shout out to the whole team as well. We're highlighting the left side of the infield, but we proclaimed, man, this is going to be a tough defensive team to watch. I need to call myself out for saying, I said that the odds of the Mariners correcting themselves defensively is low. That what you see is what you get. And what we saw earlier in the season was a pretty bad defensive team. They're essentially league average now. -1 outs above average as a team. Nowhere near the worst defensive team in baseball. And I got a hat tip to them because I said they weren't going to be good defensively, and they've been fine. They've been good enough to be a playoff team. They've been good enough to not essentially mess things up because their defense is so bad.